Horizon Chance reaction. This is: did Pepsi really own the sixth largest navy in the world? Well, channel History Matters. There's an internet legend that I thought it was true. At one point, due a deal with USSR, that Pepsi owned briefly the sixth largest navy on the planet. So did it? Okay, I forgot the channel's name. On how Western things made into USSR, right? McDonald's, Pizza Hut, shit like that. And that was a really interesting video all around, because that showed you that eventually, slowly, like in the 80s, and basically it started to, USSR and its whole mentality started to go away slowly in people's mind, at least. Where basically in Soviet Russia, right, every Western and outside thing was seen as evil. They even had their own cars and everything, basically Iron Curtain, right? No outside trade was kind of allowed. They made everything by themselves. I remember Top Gear's episode on Soviet cars, which obviously sucked, right? They were ridiculous all around. Some of them were literally indestructible. They were made by material that does not corrode over time, right? So even like 80 years after, its shell is somewhere right now. Some decoration or some shit in some kind of art. But the point is that mentality was going away slowly, right? So people, I guess it was a Pepsi, right? The first time, I guess, a US president and certain people like a Pepsi owner and people like that went there and told the then president of USSR or something that try this sugary drink, and he really liked it, right? And he allowed Pepsi to sell it over there. That was the first foreign company that's sold things in USSR. And their money was literally worthless because they didn't trade with anybody else. So their ruble was only worth money inside the USSR, not outside. Outside it didn't matter, right? If you're not doing global trading, your currency has no value. So but they are like, basically, I'm going to give you vodkas. It's just, there's as Russian as it gets, right? They wanted Pepsi, so they gave vodka as currency. All right, I guess that makes sense how world basically got used to vodka that way. And then eventually, I guess Pepsi probably said, like, enough of your vodka, I need something else. So they're like, how about a submarine? How about certain warships? So I guess that's how it became the sixth largest navy. I guess it's just statistics. No way US would have been like, oh yeah, keep your submarines, right? I mean, Pepsi is part of the United States of America. The US government is not going to let them have military-grade weapons, right? So either they sold it off or gave it to US military and sold to them or something. But yeah. But you can technically say it was the sixth largest navy in the world at the time. So that's why it says legend and rumor time. But I don't think it actually counted, since Pepsi is not a country or whatever, empire, republic, whatever. So yeah. So let's watch it. History Matters is a great channel. I love reacting to this. They explain things in a very short period. This is a really short video, 2.5 minutes. But I guess the topic is not that big either. Just talking about how Pepsi was the largest navy or not. But yeah, but this also, I just said that in that video, like how everybody, blame, in the end, USSR fall to just one guy, right? Fall to just one guy, but that's not true. You can clearly see in past few decades, USSR was kind of, slowing, it was a steady slope, but it was going in the direction of fall of USSR eventually. So it's not just one guy's fault. But yeah, that's what it is.
There's a common rumour that does the rounds on the internet that at one point PepsiCo was given a bunch of ships by the USSR, and as a result of this transaction it's often stated to have owned the sixth largest navy in the world at that point, which
Lame countries that lost a naval arms race to a soft drinks company. Okay. Damn. Look at that. USA, USSR, Britain, France, Italy, and then Pepsi.
Navy in the world at that point, which obviously raises the question. Did it? Well, to begin, the story often deviates on when PepsiCo came into ownership of this navy. Some versions say that it was after the Second World War, and some say it was in the 60s and others the 80s, with the last one being correct since the transaction occurred in 1989. What was this transaction? So Pepsi wanted to continue selling...
You think Stalin, of all people, would have been like, yeah, I need Pepsi. Really? They would rather send people into the gulag or something, rather than doing anything like that.
Its drinks to the very large internal market of the USSR, yet there was a snag. The Soviet ruble was a closed currency, meaning that outside of the USSR it was basically worthless. It couldn't be traded for dollars, which meant that foreign companies couldn't take their profits out of the country. To counteract this, Pepsi made a deal in the 1970s with a Soviet vodka company. This meant that some of the profits from the sale of that vodka globally would be used to reimburse Pepsi for its sales in the USSR. As time went on though, Pepsi was starting to lose money and so it renegotiated. And this is where the ships come in. Pepsi made a deal with the Soviet government, and it was reported in the USA that in return for the continued sale of Pepsi there, the USSR would instead pay with decommissioned naval vessels, which would then be sailed to India and then sold for scrap to reimburse the company. Some news outlets reported that the deal
What the fuck?
for the continued sale of Pepsi there, the USSR would instead pay with decommissioned naval vessels, which would then be sailed to India and then sold for scrap to reimburse the company. Some news
Really?
outlets reported that the deal had secured Pepsi 17 submarines, a frigate, a destroyer, and a cruiser. Would this have
So, so all the warships and things were taken to. I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, in the 80s and 90s, India was the main partner, not main, one of the big partners of USSR, because how, Pakistan, China were more towards USA, right? So India was the obvious choice, and they have been stable partners. So like, yeah, let us ship it to India, basically make profit that way.
have been the 6th largest navy in the world though? Well, no, not even close. It wasn't even in the top 30, but for a private company that would have been a fairly impressive navy. There's also one other problem in that it never happened. The sale of these warships for scrap was an idea floated by the Soviet government, but it was never accepted.
What?
Every ship in the Soviet navy which was scrapped during this period is accounted for, and in fact the deal saw the USSR build freight ships for Pepsi, which could then sell or lease them out as it saw fit. And so, sorry to disappoint you all, but Pepsi never owned a navy, and even if it had, it wasn't a very large one. For what it's worth though, the deal was finalised in 1990 and it remained in effect for 18 months before the USSR collapsed and Pepsi had to start negotiations all over again. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching, with a special thanks to my patrons, James Bizanet, Kelly Moneymaker.
History Matter just fucking crapped all over this idea. Man, it never actually happened. I mean, now I'm thinking about it, like, it kind of makes sense. Like, why the fuck would they get, like, why would Pepsi be like, oh, give me warships and shit like that, submarines, right? First of all, USA being USA, they would lose their mind, especially this is like, end of the Cold War. And during the Cold War, today US is known as paranoid as fuck. They started with Cold War. This is the end of Cold War. Pepsi owning submarines are like, what are you, Soviet spy? No way they would have done that. It kind of makes sense. But man, I thought there would be some truth to it, but it was just an idea that floated around, huh? Damn. So I guess that video is, the guy got entire thing wrong, right? Somebody told him in the comments, like, this is not real. I don't know. I feel like History Matters, since it's a history channel, probably get this right? I don't know if that guy's a history channel or not. I just watched one video of it, but yeah. Right, well, did Pepsi really own the 6th largest navy in the world? No, it didn't. And yeah, it makes sense, like few warships, 1 or 2 submarines. How the fuck that makes 6th largest navy in 1990, right? That would be really shitty if that's 6. I mean, what the fuck every other European countries are doing at the point, if that's the 6th largest navy. But yeah. Alright, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time.